Hey everybody, I'm Lacey Young Sutton, and today I'm going to talk about the clouds card. In everyone's life, a little rain must fall. Now, the most general thing I can say about the clouds card is that it makes things less clear. Clouds are turbulent, unpredictable, and unstable. They are confusing, they obscure things, and conceal things. This is a card of uncertainties, ambiguity, lack of perspective, difficulties that won't be easy to sort through but will eventually pass. Okay, that's important. Inconsistencies, fogginess, moodiness, and blindly bumbling through something. This is a card that asks you to be careful and get clear before proceeding. Its core energy is negative. This is a card of distinct polarity, with one side being favored over the other. So let's look at the plot for this card. All right, get my book out, the Petit Lenormand Oracle by Lacey Young Sutton. All right, under the clouds card, we have clouds, if their clear side is turned toward the person, are a lucky sign. With the dark side turned toward the person, something disagreeable will soon happen. Okay, and then I elaborate. While you never want to see the clouds close by, having the light side facing the primary significator card was a lucky sign in that it showed a clearing of the troubles. Okay, so as you can see, the plot, because it says the light side is the lucky side, I think that has confused a lot of learners. I think the explanations for the 36 cards found in the plot will make more sense to you if you remember that they were written for the cards as they are used in a grand tableau, where every card is in play. Every card's going to be in front of you. Now, the clouds card is negative, and for the most part, we do not want to see negative cards in the comfort zone of the seeker. What the plot is saying is that wherever this card falls, we still want the light side facing the seeker's card. It's considered a lucky sign to have the clearing side facing you. So the clouds card is not a lucky card, but the light side is luckier than the dark side. Okay? You can view the light side as troubles that are less problematic and possibly of a shorter duration than the dark side, right? Because of the polarity of this card, we have a wide range of meanings. Everything from shade when you want sun, to a little fog, to rain on the day of your picnic maybe, all the way up to a major storm. Those are all possible with this card. All right. Now, in a grand tableau, let me show you this. In a grand tableau, the best position for this card is far from the seeker. Here, let's get a seeker. Hang on, we'll get the seeker here. And we'll get the clouds. Okay, so you want the clouds light side toward the seeker, very far and below. All right? The worst position for the clouds is, wait, I might just, hang on. The worst position for the clouds is directly above, right? Like, and dark side facing. So this and this are the worst positions. In a horizontal line, right? That would be the worst position, okay? This is a little better, okay, but it's still touching. So I said a little better. It's a little better than this or this, right? The best position is below and very far with the light side facing, okay? That's the best position for it. Okay, now, so you can clearly see how negative the clouds card is when you see all the references to the troubles it brings to other cards in the plot. It's mentioned with the clover, the stars, the dog, the tower, the ways or crossroads, the letter, and the lily. Now, the positivity or neutrality of all of those cards changes to grief and misfortune if near the clouds. The clouds can worsen the influence of other negative cards and even cancel the positive effect of beneficial cards. Therefore, we always want to check and see where this card falls in a grand tableau, because whatever it touches becomes unstable, unclear, or unsettled. We can say we can use the clouds in the How Am I Doing GT to see where our lives are unstable or where we need to gain clarity. And in my book on page 386 in the hard copy, under the How Am I Doing GT, you can see I have check the card and house of clouds to see what you're confused about, what you're not seeing clearly, or what general troubles you can expect. Now, I want to point out that I have a video coming up on a How Am I Doing GT for weekly and monthly readings without houses by popular request. So that is coming up. Okay. Now, I mean, even in the original Game of Hope, if you landed on the clouds, it sent you back 4 spaces. It actually sent you back to the clover. So you could say that if you landed on trouble, you were sent back to find some luck. All right. You know, when you're trying to understand the plot references, it may help you to remember that this deck was created at the end of the 18th century in Europe. And when we're speaking of the clouds, that's a climate that's cool and damp, so the sun was highly prized and people were often looking for a break in the clouds, right? So that can help you to understand that better. All right, so let's look at some of these cards in front of us. Okay. Most decks clearly have a dark and light side, but not all of them. And you can see even from the earliest decks, it wasn't always on the same side, right? Here you have it on the left, and here you have it on the right. And some decks show, like this is really cool. I mean, it's obvious that the clouds are you know, hanging on this side, but you can see he's got the wind blowing too. You can see the wind blowing to the right, so that was clearly the darker side, right? And then you have some decks like the Petit Lenormand, you know, where you can't tell it all, and you would have to go through your deck, go through the deck that you're using, and you decide beforehand in a deck like this which is going to be the dark side and which is going to be the light side, because you can't wait until the cards are in front of you and just choose whichever one suits you. You know, you have to decide beforehand. Pixies, it's you know, they don't have a clear or a dark and a light side, but the clouds are obviously on this side. Here, this is the Primal Lenormand. It doesn't have a right or left, dark and light, but it's got the dark here in the middle facing down, more for a grand tableau. This is cool because it obviously shows, you know, like a dark side and a light side here. What else is cool? Oh, Robert Place's deck. He's got the clouds on the right side, and over here, this is supposed to be a creative breakthrough, he calls this, which is so true, you know, when you finally get your head out of the clouds, right? And oh, here we have the laurel wreath in the heraldic Lenormand. You have the clouds over here on the right, and then you have a hand tossing the laurel wreath, which is a sign of victory, on the other side. So some of the decks get pretty creative. Okay. Oh, look how cute that is. That's the Wonderland Lenormand, right? So she has like a dark cloud over here, and then you have the smiling, was a Cheshire cat, you know, on the right. So yeah, cute. Cute. Okay, now I can get these out of the way, and I just want to show you a few things. Let's do a few comparisons. A couple comparisons. I want to first compare it to the book, right? Because the clouds conceals things, right? And people tend to, or we readers tend to see the book as holding secrets, right? So how can we compare these two? Well, the first thing that I always do is check the energy of the cards. This is a negative card. This is neutral. Negative. Neutral leaning toward the negative, right? So we know that this is a card that influences, where this is a card that's influenced and influences. Okay. But the book refers to, its primary meaning is information that's not yet known. All right? Whereas the clouds is troubling and confusing information that's concealed or hard to distinguish. Right? So the book isn't telling you that someone is purposely hiding something from you unless the surrounding cards support that. So if it landed in a GT and it had the clouds touching it and maybe like the snake and or the fox, well then you could say somebody is purposely hiding something from you. Otherwise, it's just information that you don't know yet. Now let's compare it to the birds. All right, the birds. I want to compare these two for a couple reasons, but if you look at the plot for the birds, the first part of it says, the birds means hardships to overcome but of short duration. And that sounds very much like the clouds, doesn't it? But if we compare these two in everyday language, the birds references chaos and disorder that can lead to nervousness or restlessness. It's a neutral negative card, just like the book, right? So it's influenced by the surrounding cards. And at best, it can just refer to excitement and sound. But the troubles of the clouds are more serious than the stresses of the birds. Negative, neutral, right? Now, the clouds is a cerebral card, and the birds can be as well. And in this sense, the birds refers to brain chatter, too much on your mind, too many voices in your head, whereas the clouds refers to brain funk, like being dazed and confused, right? People who are under the influence of the clouds can't make up their minds, or they keep changing their minds. The birds card brings frustration, where the clouds brings confusion. Right? Frustration, confusion. The birds will ruffle your feathers, while the clouds will cast a shadow that's hard to see through. The birds may call for action to sort through the chaos or deal with the temporary stresses, while the clouds may suggest that your best action is to wait until they clear. All right? Now, if you are describing someone, if you're using the cards to describe someone and the cloud shows up, it may say that they are unfriendly, confused, unpredictable, moody, changeable, or insecure. It may also say that they are depressed or pessimistic, especially if you also have the coffin. Okay? Now, in relationship readings, right? The clouds often show troubles that can be solved, right? So don't automatically give up when you see this card. It may suggest that you're confused and not seeing things clearly. If next to the partner card, here's a partner. If next to the partner card, the dark side, if the dark side is next to the partner card, right? That's more likely to say that they are troubled or possibly hiding something from you. Whereas if the light side is facing them, it may just say that they're confused or insecure. Okay? Now, in health readings, right? If we're reading for health, say you're reading around the tree card in a GT for health, or you just lay a small spread asking about health, right? Okay, so this is the card primarily of the lungs and the respiratory system, but it also relates to any condition that impairs your thinking, such as mental illness or alcohol and drug abuse. And it's our virus card, right? Because it's airborne things. So, I mean, if you had it with like the mice, and you know, you had the tree, the mice, the clouds, say that could be an airborne virus, right? If you wanted to see alcohol abuse, right, it would be something like you need the fish for liquids, right? This is my abuse card right? So something like this would be alcohol abuse. Now for drug abuse, you know, we know that the clover is the card for cannabis, for marijuana, for pot, right? But I tend to see it as any kind of recreational drugs. And then, you know, the whip is my abuse card. You know, this could be drug abuse. Oh, you know, you throw the tower and the letter in there, and you could see abuse to, or addicted or abusing prescription drugs. Here we got prescriptions, and this is my official hospital kind of, you know, prescribed. This is the prescription that's prescribed officially, you know, that kind of thing. Okay, so, you know, and like I said, it is a cerebral card, the cloud. So for mental illness, depending on your question, just these two alone could show some mental illness, right? And then you could throw in the whip maybe. And oh, if you had the birds in there too, what happened to the birds? You know, because that's another cerebral card. You know, that could be showing some, oops, that could be showing mental illness. And let's see, oh, you know what? I mean, it's, okay, so it is a card of gas, right? Gases and airborne particles and smoke, right? Air pollution, all of that. So, if you saw it with the snake, I've already seen this too, which is funny. The snake and the bear. The bear is my card for overeating, right? And the snake refers to the gastrointestinal tract. So this could be intestinal gas. Look out. All right, so I hope that was clear and interesting for all of you. If you have any questions, as always, leave them in the comments section below or get them to me somehow. And thanks for watching, and go play with your cards. Bye, everybody.